It's a plot to drop the IQ, fighting amongst each other over rumors that don't like you. Prefer us trapped in melancholy with the wood wands of holly, suggestions that obliterate to camouflage the folly. Attempted mental robbery, executed sloppily. The poppers see this mockery and walk the talk with me. Put the hands up to touch the Akasha, cause you know deep down there's something bigger than your wallet.
Sweet eternal balance of all that is good, true, and beautiful, friends. Welcome back to Rogue Soul, where it is Black Friday, a day after Thanksgiving, and it is also the winning report. We're going to remember all the ways that we win in every arena of life, no matter whether it's political, social, worldwide, local, whatever ways, because we are in touch with our ability to discern. Use our minds, a gift from God to us. Also use our hearts, our abilities to love ourselves and others through even the darkest of times, and our abilities to remember we are a soul transcending this body. Body's cool. It's not the thing. It's not the eternal part of us. And when we know that, and when we can discern, when we can use our hearts, then we can get through anything this world throws at us. And so we'll look at all of the news, but remember that we are winning throughout all of it. Also, happy Black Friday. I decided this year to call it White Friday just because it sounds nicer. Black just seems to sound like doom. Black Friday, right? Didn't we call the stock market crash Black Tuesday or something? I know that it means that you're in the black economically. I get the economic part of the name, but White Friday just feels a lot better. So White Friday this year for me, White Saturday, White Small Business Monday, cyber, whatever, all the days, they're all White Friday to me. And so if you want to cash in on the Rogue Soul discounts for this time of giving, if you're going to be giving gifts and also this time of White Friday ness, then you can go to the site, roguesoul.org. If you go to the shop, any of the Orgone you see there is $22 off if you use the code White Friday. That goes all the way through December 9th. So you don't have to do it now, but get up now if you want to grab them before they're gone. Any tower, any Orgone, Lotus, Votive, it works for all of them. White Friday is the code to get $22 off any of the Orgone there. It's great for gifts because they're beautiful. It's great for gifts as well because they have spiritual oomph that uplifts your space, clarifies it, brings in that good, true, and beautiful energy, that highest source connection. And that's also a beautiful gift. So really good gifts to give. Also $22 off any 2026 tarot reading. So I do my yearly readings in which you get to see a preview of your upcoming year, one card per month. We just talk about each month for a moment, get the message and the energy of that month. And then with every tarot reading, you get a picture of the reading. You get my full written out summary of it. You're welcome to record any session we do together if you're able to. So you get all of that for already a very good deal, in my opinion. Now you get $22 off that reading if you book it before December 9th. So if you use that White Friday code while you're booking, you get to the booking, of course, from the site at roguesoul.org. You can click on schedule a session or book a session or anywhere that it has links to booking. And just while you're checking out there, you're going to type in that code, White Friday, $22 off that reading. You also can get $22 off the Bright Solstice event. That's going to be on the winter solstice. As I do every solstice and equinox, there's going to be a blessing and a teaching, a practice, and more. And so we're going to do a group retreat. It's always virtual. It's always recorded. So if you can't make it at the times designated, you can always check in with it over the next 3 to 7 days. Usually I give people to come back to that recording. So you get to receive all the blessings, receive all the messages. You don't have to be there live to do that. $22 off. That one is White Solstice. So the coupon code is White Solstice upon checkout. If you're planning on doing any of those things, this is the time to get them and give yourself a gift. It's also a discount to subscribe for the yearly Substack. So if you go to my Substack, where all of my articles are, right, about history, philosophy, religion, esoteric topics. I also do channeled messages from the spiritual ancestors. You can subscribe there for free. You can also subscribe at the paid level and get access to any of those paid articles. So a lot of what I do is free. A lot of the channeled messages are for paid subscribers. If you want access to all of it, then you can become a paid subscriber. It's never been cheaper. Right now, if you use the, it's not a code. You just type it in, actually. So it's linked below wherever you're watching or listening. And it's the same address as normal, rogueways.substack.com/White Friday. So White Friday again, and then you can get to that place. You get the year's subscription, you get a discount on that. So you can pay by the month. That's cool. You can also pay by the year, get a discount no matter when you do it. And then right now it's even more discounted. So go check all those out. This is the time to do all of those things. And so White Friday or White Solstice are the coupon codes to use on all of those. They're also all outlined on the Substack. So if you've already on my email, so if you're already on my email list, or if you're already on the Substack subscription, then you've already heard all of this. You've already got your spots at those events. You've already got your Orgone. And so those are also good things to be connected to. And if you want to just click easily, that's where you're going to go to get all those things. So that's the stuff. Let's get into it then with this winning report. And here we go. We've got just coming out today. Trump says he's rescinding and terminating any executive order signed under Biden using the auto pen. Is that all of them? I don't know how we know. I don't know how we can tell the difference. Maybe it's just known. Maybe it's obvious. Maybe I'm silly for asking, but let's just do all of them. Just undo all of them. Why not? There you go. One executive order undoes all the executive orders. So there goes that. Such a silly game with these executive orders to be played back and forth. Such a silly game to not actually have someone who can think in the White House and then have an auto pen sign things that were written by other people. And the a person with degenerative neurology is not even aware of what it was, right? Which is Biden, obviously. Whatever you say about Trump, at least he is cognizant of what's happening around him and what he's doing and where he is. So I can't criticize him for that. Airbus has issued a warning to travelers. This is an interesting warning because it actually could have been made by anyone at any time in history. It has no real connection to Airbus itself. But for some reason, Airbus, they're one of the manufacturers, sort of like Boeing, of airplanes. Airbus, or maybe Boeing I think Airbus is its own manufacturer. It's either that or it's its own, it's like a subtype that Boeing also produces. But anyways, Airbus Airplanes has issued a warning to travelers flying on Airbus planes, saying, quote, analysis of a recent event involving an A320 family aircraft has revealed that intense solar radiation may corrupt data critical to the functioning of flight controls. So, I've been talking to you about this for, I don't even know how many years now. And so a lot of people who follow the geomagnetic excursion, the potential pole flip, the fact that the poles have been moving quicker and quicker for many decades now, the fact that our entire geomagnetic situation is absolutely insane, and that the sun is also being insane, and that the increased radiation from the sun is therefore affecting the Earth more than it normally would because we have a weakened magnetosphere. All of that would then inform you that flying is a bit riskier now than normal. Still the safest way to travel as far as we've got as humans here, physically. And so still good option, but less safe now, because if any of those solar flares that we've been getting more and more intense solar flares hit this more and more weakened magnetosphere, and a plane is up there flying as these energies are coming through, it has always been the case that has been affecting the planes. They're just warning us now for some reason, which makes me wonder if they expect some sort of an event or if they're just doing this for legal purposes. More likely the latter, and yet, we can expect more and more events of these electromagnetic varieties because of that situation. So yeah, every time you're flying, you're maybe a little bit more risk than normal. Anytime you fly, you're getting a really high dose of radiation because you're higher up in that sphere where it's coming through. It's always been coming through. It's just coming through now more than ever. So we'll see what happens in this continuing apocalyptic, potentially cataclysmic situation as we move closer and closer to 2033. Starlink also at the same event, right? This past few weeks, we've had that sunspot was facing us. We had 3 coronal mass ejections of X-class and above, and then also the magnetosphere being weakened. So we had a lot of anomalies. We had a lot of expected risks and effects from that. But then they studied a lot more too. So they got to see more than ever just how intense this can be. And Starlink is one of the places also. So Starlink also saying it took them 3 to 4 days to stabilize orbit after the solar storm. I doubt that they're telling us the extent and the magnitude of what actually happened. I just saw another Starlink launch yesterday here where I'm at in Colorado. And so, you could see them anytime. They're not necessarily like slowing down, but I always wonder how many more they're throwing up there when the sun swipes them right out of the sky with these intense storms. So it says 3 to 4 days it took to stabilize. So if you were somewhere, for example, you're relying on Starlink and that's your internet connection, and then a solar storm happens, it might be 3 to 4 days before they could get it back up and running. This is not just a risk to satellites, though. This is a ground level risk too. So we saw grid down situations like we did in Spain, France, and Portugal earlier in the year. And those are also at risk. So how many days does it take to get back up and running after the ground level grid goes down? Probably more than 3 to 4 days, honestly. That would be a great turnaround if that's all that we lost power for in a severe geomagnetic storm. But Starlink, so Airbus and Starlink both coming out after this most recent series of solar storms and making their warnings, right? So again, these people don't tend to make warnings unless illegally they feel they need to, and perhaps because they know something else may be coming. So I would take that as an interesting thing. Again, we're about to do the December tarot reading, so we'll see if anything is indicated there, but I've got some feelings about it. So we'll see. We have also from Peter Sweden. He likes to keep us updated on some of the things going on in Europe, especially Northern Europe. And he said a cow that was fed with Bovaer at a test farm in Norway had to be put down after digestive problems. Long before they started giving this to cows, I was telling you about it and warning against it. Then they started giving it to cows, and I was telling you about it and warning against it. And here we are with them seeing that it is killing cows, or at least forcing them to kill cows because their distress is so intense. It turns out when you try to force an animal not to fart, that it could kill it and cause extreme distress. I don't know why. Again, I retweeted this and I said, any fourth grader with common sense could tell scientists what it takes scientists like 20 years to know in the modern world. I don't know why they're this stupid, but they are. And it's almost always that we're reading reports like this where it's like, yeah, that was actually the obvious outcome. We didn't need to test it to find out. And so we're doing it again here with Bovaer. So every normal thinking, just basically intelligent person absolutely knew without a doubt that was not going to go well. And here we are seeing it not go well. And their whole thing with this is climate change, which is ridiculous because it's also being driven by the sun and the magnetosphere, which we don't have control over and has nothing to do with cow farts. So we're just torturing cows, torturing people for no reason. But if you're a death cult, I guess you're into that. So continuing to see the fallout from Bovaer being used on cows, especially in Europe. And then Russia has brain hacked a bio-drone pigeon, and they're just the start of its hybrid AI experiments. This is wild. This is beyond just like a cyborg or whatnot. This is a living pigeon in which they're essentially doing like the brain implant Neuralink sort of thing. And yet they're also then allowing AI to control it. So it was bad enough when we were doing Neuralink and we're like, let's see what we can control about humans, or, ostensibly what humans can control with their mind, like turn the light off and on with your brain and like stupid shit like that. But now they're saying like, here, what can AI control about this pigeon's actions? What can AI do with this pigeon? So they've turned living pigeons into ostensibly undetectable AI powered drones. It's like we're living in the weirdest nightmare possible. Why would you even do that? I mean, I know why. I get it. The pigeon can get a lot of places and no one's suspecting it. Why would you want AI to be controlling it? What kind of nightmare creatures are you trying to create? There's no boundaries for some of these people. And again, no common sense. So I feel very bad for the pigeons that this is happening to. Birds are already very sensitive to electromagnetic fields, and now we're sticking them in their brains. So not good for the pigeons. Probably not good for AI. And that's happening. That's a real thing that's actually happening. Welcome to 2025, almost 2026. Oh, over to Turkey. Erdogan, their president, says ethnic diversity is not an element of division here in Turkey. We must not look at ethnic difference or religious difference as an issue. Anyone in this country is a citizen with no discrimination. which is the biggest absolute lie, just provably not what he thinks about the world, as he has continuously oppressed the Kurds and who else? Oh, over on the border there, the whole genocide against I am not thinking of the word right now, the Young Turks, that whole thing. Anyway, that's not how he feels at all. Why is he saying this? Probably to please the WEF. He still really wants to be a part of all the European Union, you know, all that stuff, and really be more European than Middle Eastern, and so that's just the attempt, right? But it's total bullshit, not the case at all. Turkey is, you know, they say they're secular, and technically they are, and it's cool. I'm down with that. You know, they have rules about what you can and can't, for example, wear into work or professional places because they don't want it to be religious. At the same time, if you are born in Turkey or become a citizen of Turkey, it defaults your religion to Islam, and you'd have to go through legal moves in order to change it. So that you can tell me you're secular, but you act like you are Islamic, that's different. You can tell me you accept all people of all nations, but when you commit genocide and oppression over all of the people that are living in the east of Turkey and on Turkey's borders, no, you're just a liar. So don't believe this guy. Don't believe this guy. I used to live in Turkey, and that's why I have a little bit of an insight into some of the politics there, more so than some other areas. But researchers at a Chinese laboratory have created modified SADS-CoV, SADS instead of SARS, right? We had SARS-CoV, now we have SADS-CoV, a potentially deadly virus through gain-of-function research. Well, they've been telegraphing this for a while, that they want to do their Plandemic 2.0. The most recent thing, it's either further up in this list of headlines I'm going to share with you tonight, or maybe I talked about it last week, but there was a tabletop game, another simulation in which they were, you know, another outbreak had occurred. You know, they do these every once in a while. We had Event 201 before COVID and whatnot. A lot of them, you know, then become real all of a sudden, just like Event 201 did. But this most recent tabletop simulation, they simulated an enterovirus. So it wasn't SAD-CoV, but it was an enterovirus. And what it did was it decimated the world's children. So kind of like Children of Men, perhaps, a little bit too close, a little bit like also V for Vendetta, especially the book version. And so who knows? It could be they just are saying this. It could be, you know, they actually have done something. It could be whatever. I'm always looking not to viruses, because I still have no evidence that they exist, but I'm looking to, okay, then what chemicals, what toxins mimic the, you know, symptoms that you're saying this virus causes. And then I'm going to look for you to be spraying them from the sky or otherwise, indicating or otherwise creating them, and sometimes from electromagnetic radiation as well. A lot of times the 5G or other methods can cause radiation sickness, which then they can say is a virus spreading. And any of the above can happen at the same time as well, making it even more confusing. So I'm always looking to that. Recently, we've had this thick, weird fog around Texas and the Northeast. And so I've been wondering if this is their attempt to start the Plandemic too. So as always, the thing that you can do, the win here, is you take care of yourself all the time, not just when you get sick. You take care of yourself all the time so that you don't get as sick, so that even if you were poisoned, your body can take care of it as it is. That's what it does. Your body is a miracle at this. And so you support your body with the minerals, with the water, the purified water, with the right lighting, with the, you know, grounding, with getting outdoor, getting sunlight, exercise, eating the highest quality foods you can. Then even if you're facing some of the darkest things, your body overcomes it, because that's what your body does. So give yourself the best chance you can. And you should be doing that no matter what these psychopaths plan or don't plan. American political satirist C.J. Hopkins says armed German police raided his apartment in Berlin, interrogated him and his wife, and confiscated his computer. Yes, that is what they do now. They are in all of Europe. You are not allowed to speak or think for yourself. And if you say things, especially on social media or in any kind of public way, that they don't like, then this is what they do. They swat, raid your house, steal all your electronics from you, fine you, jail you. That's Europe. So this is the new dystopia we live in now. And just because you're an American doesn't mean you're living there. Like, you are in their grips. So time for the Europeans to stand up and take care of that. Trump gave an update after yesterday's, I think it was yesterday or the day before's act of terror, talking about the attack on the National Guards people in D.C. Said 500 more troops will be sent to Washington, D.C., that he'll clamp down on illegal aliens as well, because the person who did this was, I don't think they were illegal, but they were an immigrant. And he said, if they can't love our country, we don't want them, and asks every family to say a prayer for the two great heroes that were shot. These are the two National Guardsmen that were attacked and shot. So the story here is interesting. It has some false flags. And so it might also just be what they're actually saying happens. That's always the possibility, right? So we want to keep our mind open to all of the possibilities. I think it's not, I don't just think, it is actually unintelligent to assume that everything is fake and everything is a false flag. It's just not intelligent. So you have to look at all the options, right? So it'd be silly to assume that the government never had false flags. It'd be silly to assume that everything that happens is a false flag. So sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. In this case, we have Afghan national Rahmanullah Lachenwal. He was 29 years old. He was identified as the suspect in the shooting of those two National Guard members. The Afghan national reportedly opened fire with a revolver. One unarmed National Guardsman fought back with a pocket knife, and another Guardsman returned fire, shooting the suspect multiple times. Both National Guard soldiers were shot in the head. The suspect allegedly shouted Allahu Akbar during the attack. So it would not be surprising that somebody immigrates here or ends up here, maybe has not been given citizenship yet necessarily, but is in the process or whatever happened. And yet they're from one of these countries where we have radical Islam has long since taken root. And then, they take their chance when here to do as much damage as possible in the name of this holy war, which is what radical Islam does. And again, in the West, we have not, the people who have migrated here legally and love being Americans and are Muslim tend to be like the westernized Muslim, just like the modernized Christian ignores all of the sort of bad stuff in their holy texts and just tries to do the good stuff, right? And that's cool. But that's not most of the world. Most of the world's population of Islam is radicalized, and they're in a holy war, and they're totally down to commit violence on behalf of this holy war and their religion. And so it's not surprising at all to see that. That's also weaponized, by the way. So that's also used by powerful players in order to capitalize on that willingness to do damage and violence and put some of these people in places where they can do it in order to cause damage to their enemies. So it's fifth generational war. It's nonlinear war. It's not just that Islam is, doing this. It's that other people are empowering radicalized Islam to commit these terroristic acts. So all of that is true. All of that is true. This guy, it also turns out, had worked with the CIA for 20 years or more when in Afghanistan. That's part of why when we left Afghanistan, he's one of the people who got out and came here, because he had contact with the CIA for so long. That also doesn't make this a false flag. It is a potential connection that could indicate that. And it is also that a lot of the people who came from Afghanistan would have had connections like that. And that doesn't mean that they're all agents or sleeper cells, or you know what I mean? Not in that sense. So, when we then say instantly from the administration, now we're going to have this many more troops here, you could definitely say, oh, they did this, right? They pulled this off. They did this false flag so that they could more deeply militarize this area. And so, yeah, it's a good motive. It would make sense. And it still doesn't necessarily mean that's what's happened, right? It just definitely could also be a guy from Afghanistan hates the West and hates Christianity, and took his opportunity to take down some of the beast that he sees, right? And the National Guardsmen would represent that. So this is what we know so far, and this is what has happened, and that's it. That's it. Our best win is to keep our mind open about what might be happening and know that we don't know for sure. The U.S. has ordered American diplomats in Europe and Canada, Australia, and New Zealand to press their host governments to restrict most migration. So immigration for many years now, minimum of 10, much more so in the 4 years before Trump took office for the second time. And that's been true all over the world, especially in Western areas. So Canada, New Zealand, Australia, and Europe, these are the areas, right? So I like this call. It is a noble call for people who understand weaponized immigration and are therefore on guard against it, and to use their potential diplomatic, just like we would like to hopefully also pressure these places to remain with some level at least of free speech and free thought. These are things that we can't do without as humanity, and so we hope to see some of that spread. Oh, West Virginia had both died. Oh, we already got that. Yeah. The FAA had grounded departures at Reagan National Airport due to security issues. That's all I know about that. Sorry. Oops. We've got. Trump says that the U.S. will stop all payments and subsidies to South Africa. Acknowledge the horrific human rights abuses endured by Afrikaners and other descendants of Dutch, French, and German settlers, and they're just killing white people. The government's doing nothing, so we're not going to support that government anymore. Makes sense to me. That'd be Georgia prosecutor drops election interference case against Trump and others. Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of reasons why. One, because it didn't happen. Two, because I wonder also if they're like, oh, I wonder if they're going to come at us for our actual election interference, which is probably the case. So I don't know if there's some kind of deal there, but definitely should have been dropped a long time ago. The EU Parliament passed a non-binding resolution calling for restricting social media use by age, but also end anonymity for social media users in European Union. It's true. It's just unfortunate that parents are responsible for their children. Parents don't take responsibility for their children. I know this having been a teacher for many decades. I know this having just known your time. And so people are doing their best, but this is crazy. If you could give a child now access to any piece of information that exists in the world, including the worst possible, most egregious. So being on the internet it's funny. I think there's still people who really don't get it, to be really honest. I remember a lady telling me a few years back, she's like, oh, my son got access to the dark web. And I was like, are you sure about that? I mean, like, is he a hacker or something? No, he just things that are bad online. It's not the dark web. Sorry to tell you. It is dark and it is on the web, but that's not what people mean when they say the dark web. The dark web are the places like you can't get unless you know how, and often have black market things going on. But so people don't even a lot of people. You remember the IQ curve, the bell curve means that half of people aren't very smart. That's a lot of people. And a lot of those people have a lot of kids. So I don't want, right, any sort of organization to control what kids can or can't do. I want parents to. I don't actually trust parents to. So this is a hard one for me, internet. Without, a very limited version of the internet and mostly not have access to it would be great until they're at least like 14, 16, 18. In Europe and a lot of places, kids are a lot more innocent and they're a lot younger, a lot longer than our kids are here in the US. Handle at what age? Our kids grow up way too fast here. You might think that's a good thing and that's cool, but like the rest of the world, it really isn't like that, and they're not really ready for it. So again, it'd be great to restrict access. How else would you do it? How else would you do? I don't know. So I'm torn about it, but tell me if you have a good answer. We'll get a win. A lawsuit after their daughter's school. This is so crazy. Forced her to share a bed with a biological boy, not a bedroom, a bed. I'm not even, I'm like, wait a sec. I'm thinking back to like school trips. Didn't do many because, really poor, but like the ones that were free that I was able to do that were overnight, we all had our own bed. It wasn't a rich discount. We were in big rooms, lots of bunks and stuff, lots of people, but like we had our own bed. Why is she even in a bed with another kid at all? Why is there a case where you would ever be on any kind of school function sharing a bed with another being? That's weird enough to me. But then that you made her sleep with a boy? That's wild. I can't even imagine. At all. I can't even imagine. God, it's crazy. It's crazy what people who are blinded by this whole trans thing, like, can't just see. Again, common sense. Common sense. Would you stick a human with a penis in a bed with a human with a vagina on a school trip? Take off the other labels. Get down to the biology. Is that what you would do? No. Just no. So yeah, they're suing the pants off. Such an easily avoided mistake. But again, the left has become just deluded with this thing. Like, they can't see reality. I don't know why. I mean, I do. I just I want them to do better. I'm so disappointed in them. You just threw out all your critical thinking for like a campaign the media gave you. I shouldn't sleep with girls because they said they're a girl. Wow, dude. This is creepy and weird. That poor girl, and good for the parents. And honestly, it might have been fine. I'm not saying like automatically a guy will do something, right? It's just not appropriate. It's not appropriate. And the kid might be, oh, it was fine. I didn't mind at all. Still not appropriate. Eek. So, Jamie Booker's still on the trans thing here. Jamie Booker's second place finish at the 2025 North American Strongest Woman competition in Canada has been revoked because they're not a woman. So that's great. Again, we're seeing a lot of progress in that. There's a lot of biological men cannot compete in women's sports to the end. Doesn't matter if you've done hormones, if you had surgeries, it doesn't matter anything. If you're biological male, cannot compete against women or in women's sports. So that's great. Women's spaces are finally being made safe again. We're back to when schools are putting boys in beds with girls. But in this, we'll call it a win that Jamie Booker lost that win because Jamie Booker is not a woman. CIIR sues Texas over the terrorist organization designation. I think, again, we talked about that last week. Texas has designated a couple Muslim organizations as terrorist organizations. And so they're suing because they, of course, say they're not. But again, you can be a Muslim and not believe so. That's fine. But you can't actually support terrorists and then say you're not a terrorist organization. Like, that's just not how it goes. I know a lot of people really want it to be otherwise because they like some of those organizations that have been designated terrorist organizations. And I get it. I get that you think like freedom fighters or various areas where some Muslims or some sects of Muslims actually are oppressed. And so you say, oh, these are good because they're fighting for the oppressed, but they're still terrorist organizations and they still do things outside of that narrow little band where you might think what has happened is acceptable. So I don't know. Again, let me know if you disagree or what it is that I might be missing in that, but that's my take. Trump directs Steve Witkoff to meet with Putin and Secretary of Army Driscoll with Zelensky in the hopes of finalizing a Russia-Ukraine peace deal. We have been told that it might be possible by Thanksgiving, but Thanksgiving has come and gone. So, still hope. There's still hope it could happen. Again, it's never going to be anything but. Ukraine broke the treaty. Ukraine won't let Russians return to Russians, and they want to keep that territory. Ukraine tortured the people there. Those people are loved in Russia, and they are Russian, so they should just cede the territory to Russia. So simple. Again, like most things, if you laid it out like that and you gave it to a fourth grader and you said, what should happen? They'd be like, well, those people should go back to Russia. Like, what's the big deal? Because you have to be stupid. So hopefully that'll happen. U.S. Special Forces raid Somalia mountain caves in Puntland, showcasing American reach. All right. Somalia mountain caves. Is this retaliation because of all the Somalia infiltration in the U.S.? I don't know. Somalia has also been in a civil war forever. And it's just got more attention on it now because of all this, and that the Somali people there tend to be draining money, committing fraud in order to get money, sending it back to Somalia. A lot of their youth are often terrorizing the area. Pretty dark stuff going on in some of the Somali strongholds in the U.S. And so maybe that's part of why this is highlighted, but it's also that whole Russia, China, U.S. thing in Africa, right? They're always vying for who's going to sort of, anywhere can shift at any time. I'm not saying that. I'm saying like this is the last area where there's really like the hot war going on for territory and resources, and that's Africa, poor Africa. That's just the case. So that might be part of it too. Again, we don't tend to really be that interested in anybody's civil war unless there's some greater geopolitical move going on. And so that's why we care about Somalia. This whole thing. So this is another thing where they're really mad at ICE for doing a deportation that everybody loved the deportations under Obama. Everybody hates the same exact deportations under Trump. Like, it's just no sense to it at all. Just do what the media tells you. Be mad because we said so. But a Jamaican national who'd lived in New York for nearly 50 years was shackled and put on an ICE flight to Eswatini. His name is Orville, going to another land in shackles and chains, he said, which is ridiculous. It's just absolutely on every level ridiculous. Not even anything similar at all. The slaves were sold by their countrymen to white people and put on ships. You came to a country illegally and were caught and now are being deported. Like nothing, slaves were taken away from their home. You're being sent back to your home. Like everything about it, in fact, is not even remotely similar. The two things have nothing to do with each other. But the New Yorker published this article for someone who broke a law is held accountable for it. Imagine that. Charlotte, North Carolina, has announced that they are giving out something that we will find out as soon as the page loads. There's no reason in 2025 why a simple page should take this long to just pop up some script with a picture. They're giving out $100,000 to those who lost mod. So this is what happened. So the border patrol, ICE, immigration enforcement shows up. They're like doing raids, right? They're doing sweeps. They're getting people who are illegal immigrants, and they are rounding them up and deporting them. And so a lot of places that hire mostly illegal immigrants or who serve mostly illegal immigrants are losing out because the illegal immigrants who are there spending money aren't there to spend money, and the people who are there to work who are illegal aren't there to work, and so they're losing out on all this business. And so Charlotte, North Carolina is going to give them all $100,000. I don't know if that's even legal, but that's what's happening in Charlotte, North Carolina. That's at the city level. That means the city government is doing this with your city tax money. So you're a resident there and you like it, cool, good job. Your tax money was used in a way you like. If you're a resident there and you don't like it, elections say, what do you guys want to do? Do you want to give money to all these places that we're hiring and working with primarily illegal immigrants? Is that what you want to do with your money? No, they didn't do that. They just did it. So that happened. That's happening. I don't know. And people are still talking about this due process thing. Like, well, there's no due process. Dude, there never was. Well, I don't know what you think due process is. I still am not clear what these people think due process is, but it's every time we deport illegal immigrants, this is how we do it. Do you think that they should have a trial? Do you think tens of thousands, if not millions of people who are going to be deported should all have a trial? That would be a way to collapse civilization just purely and quickly. It would be ridiculous. That's why we don't do it. That's why we just say, are you a citizen? No? Okay, goodbye then. That's the due process. The due process is we've determined you're not a citizen. And now goodbye. There's nothing that says that someone who comes here illegally should be given anything at all. That's not how it works. People are so confused about it. I don't know. I don't know why. It's just like this. The leftists are saying this, and then the people who have come from leftism but haven't quite broken through the codependent emotional, unwellness, and who haven't healed that yet. Those are the people who are saying this. And so I see that pretty consistently. So, it comes back to this every time, right? The biggest win of all is heal yourself. Heal yourself. When you're healed and whole, you cannot make these types of mistakes. And you will see them as mistakes someday if you don't know. FBI and Department of Justice plan to interview 6 Congress members involved in social media video urging military members to and so sedition is a lighter form of treason, I guess. And so the seditious 6 made this video. They're all nobodies too. They're nobody whose name I recognize, at least. But they're all in Congress. They're all Congress people, officials who are elected. And, they made the video. I'm sure you've seen by now. We talked about it last week where they all said, defy orders. If you get an illegal order, defy the order. And it's well, duh, duh, military of any rank, yeah. But why would you feel the need to reiterate that and emphasize that in a video? The implication is that there are illegal orders, but then all of them, when asked, what illegal orders are you asking people to, not follow? And they can't answer. They don't have any. They'll say, well, do you think this is an illegal order? And they'll be like, well, no. Okay, so nothing actually happened that you think is an illegal order. But you just decided to randomly say that. Well, you're a liar. You were hoping to foment some rebellion and some, dissension in the military and cause problems. That actually is what sedition is. So pretty interesting to see if they get charged with that. I'm sure the media will tell you that Trump is an evil dictator if that happens, but that is not actually the case. He might become one, but it's not actually the case here. Germany's Christmas markets face soaring security costs due to recent attacks. So the last few years we've covered too, there's been some Muslim on Christian attacks, driving cars through crowds at Christmas markets, running and stabbing. Expenses have increased an average of 44% in 3 years, trying to keep people safe so they can just have their Christmas market. It's just a Christmas market. We're allowed to have our traditions as Western people. We're allowed to have our traditions as Christian nations. But again, most Muslims in the world don't agree. Some of the ones do, and that's great. But most of them don't, because it's a holy war, and it has been for centuries. And they're not unserious about it. So that's Germany. The UK concludes exercise Pegasus. Oh, this is what I was telling you guys about the Pegasus. The largest pandemic simulation in nearly a decade. has it been nearly a decade? Event 201 was only, what, 6 years ago? So I don't know what they're talking about. But with the simulated virus enterovirus, EVD68, thought to originate from pigs and primarily killing children. So that's that. That's their pandemic. Again, I was looking up enterovirus symptoms, and then I was looking up like which chemicals and which whatever cause these same exact symptoms, and it is a lot of pesticides, heavy metals, and very specifically, maybe I can find it. Very specifically few chemicals. And then I asked, can these be fumigated and sprayed out like a fog? And they're like, yes, they can be. And I was like, oh, that's interesting because there's a lot of weird fogs right now. Yeah, here it is. So cyanotoxins, harmful algal blooms, can cause these same effects. So again, algae. So I was telling people too, when they were like, oh, if viruses don't exist, then what does? And I was like, well, chemicals exist, radiation exists. And yeah, algae like exist, and different fungi exist, bacteria exist, parasites exist. All those things we can prove. You and I can prove it. But never, ever, not even a tiny bit, not even a little bit. They've not only never proven a single virus exists, they have never proven viral contagion exists. Ever, 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 not even a tiny bit. Not once, not anyone, not ever. So do they exist? Only if no one knows. No one has ever shown it. People are like, what do you mean? I mean exactly what I just said. I know it's hard to believe because it sounds untrue, because you've been told the opposite, but it's actually true. And you can look through them and you'll find exactly that. So cyanotoxins exist. Algal blooms exist. You and I can go find them, and we can replicate them, and we can see them functioning, and we can show how they infect people. You and I can do that easily. You don't even have to have any specialized equipment necessarily. They also talk about it's a common chemical plasticizer that can be aerosolized, by the way. Ozone and air pollutants can cause this. Heavy metals and pesticides can cause this, and all of those can be aerosolized. So I had to look, because I was like, all right, if they're about to pull this, what am I going to be able to say? And those are the things. So we'll keep our eye on that, and hopefully not all the children of the world die. So that'd be nice. Giant pandas Huan and Yuanzi leave France and return to China as part of China's panda babies their whole life and shipped around the world. You can go back to my episode that pandas do exist, and you can see why pandas do exist. But that's happening. Ukraine reportedly agrees to the Trump peace proposal. Again, it's not official yet, but that's been in the works. So Russia and Ukraine are both on board so far, and we'll see what happens. We've got Trump signing the Genesis mission. I'd like to do the Genesis mission is an executive order to build an integrated AI platform with access to federal scientific data sets to dramatically accelerate AI development, comparable in urgency and ambition to the Manhattan Project that developed nuclear weapons. No matter what you think of AI, or Trump, or our government, or capitalism, or anything else, probably should have done it sooner. The threat of China having weapons that are stronger than ours is not acceptable. Humanity will not do well in that world. And so whoever you don't like doesn't matter as much as the whole world doing better than if China took over the world. So keeping an eye to abuses, always keeping an eye to human freedom and autonomy, all those things remain true, even as you may say, perhaps it's a good idea to go with urgency towards higher levels of AI specialization that is controlled by the United States. So just forward this to myself so I can have some things for future shows, because that's how I do it. All right. A state parliament in Germany has approved the use of Palantir's controversial Gotham software to enable police forces to analyze data and prevent crimes. In Germany, not the best place to be enacting that. Again, Germany has become super draconian as they've allowed weaponized immigration to essentially ruin their civilization at the same time that they've reduced their ability to be energy independent for no discernible reason and have cracked down on people's free speech. Now they're bringing in Palantir. So, I mean, ideally, as I've said many times before, and to become actually neutral instead of super biased politically and socially is potentially possible. That's the best hope in this scenario. Otherwise, Palantir and Germany's current situation are a real bad combo for the people of Germany. Palantir, of course, super old technology, but of course, updated all the time. But a long time we've been using Palantir. It was first used post-Katrina in the U.S. Palantir is used for pre-crime. It's both surveillance, facial recognition, gait recognition, and algorithms that predict crime. So it's pre-crime prediction. And yeah, we've had it for a long time. It's been being used for a long time. It's at the federal level now being perhaps implemented, or already has been implemented some time ago, and now in Germany. So we'll see. We'll see what happens there. Federal judge dismisses the criminal cases against former FBI Director James Comey and Letitia James, concluding the prosecutor once a charge is dismissed, I don't believe you can do anything else except try to bring something similar in another way that might stick. But I think dismissal is pretty much donesy. So, that doesn't seem super on board to me. Both of those people are criminals for sure. So Pentagon is investigating Senator Mark Kelly of Arizona over a video where he encouraged troops to disobey illegal orders. Oh, we already got that. That's one of those seditious six. The EU, European Union, has reportedly plans to pass a controversial chat control legislation without discussion and behind closed doors. This is people's ability to think and speak freely about anything they choose. So the EU is getting worse and worse all the time. That has not changed course. Melania has received the 2025 White House Christmas tree by draft horse and carriage. A man in a top dressed very regally in her Christmas whites and reds. Very exciting to have actual Christmas at the White House. I'm sure it'll be beautiful. I can't wait to see it. Trump admin designates Cartel de los Soles, comprised of high-ranking Venezuelan military and government officials, a foreign terrorist organization. I could have sworn I told you this. De los Soles is literally the military of Venezuela. This makes me so happy. They are a terrorist organization. They, had their coup how many years ago, and then they proceeded to demolish all society and economy in Venezuela. And then they also sent their cartel members up to create the software that would eventually become the Diebold and all of the voting machines all over the world, which all had back doors and have all been being controlled by Israel and China and Venezuela. So we talk about fifth generation war and nuclear war. This is what we're talking about. You don't have to think that Trump is a good person or your savior to understand that this is a good thing for the United States and for freedom, because free elections are what freedom is. So you would have to have that. So you'd have to take down the people who made all of the elections in the whole world not free all along. You'd have to. So it's actually huge. It's actually a big deal. It's perhaps the biggest win of today. So I love it. The Gobi volcano in Ethiopia has erupted for the first time in thousands of years. So remember all the times I told you as this geomagnetic excursion continued, we'd have more volcanoes, more earthquakes, more storms. Here we are. Just as just one of them. I saw another one today that's not even here in this list of headlines. There's also been more earthquakes again, and so things are not quieting down. And we are just now actually upon this show's stream and recording we're about to be facing the same region that we got all those solar flares from just a few weeks ago. It takes about 28 days, I guess, for them to do a cycle. And so it went around the backside. Now it's coming back around the front side. So we have a few weeks now of facing this region of really intense energy from the sun. So we're priming these X classes again, just like we did last. We don't have to. It's totally unpredictable. But we have a huge potential for that in these upcoming next few weeks. Leading up to my birthday. So we'll see what happens. Well, if I have a total global, let's roll. Let's see what happens. I've been waiting for this my whole life. The Department of Homeland Security Twitter account was set up from Israel in 2008. Oh, so Twitter did this whole thing you may have heard, where they showed, you can see where every account, where it was made and when it was made. And so all these different accounts, people are like, oh my God, here's this, like, a lot of them are like MAGA Trump accounts, but they're from like Zimbabwe or something. It's just like people who are not even from the United States. This has nothing to do with, by the way, with like VPNs and stuff. This is like the location where it was actually created. Surprising, maybe the least surprising to those of us who pay attention, but the most surprising, especially for normies, is this: the DHS, Department of Homeland Security Twitter account was set up in 2008 in Israel when Michael Chertoff was the DHS secretary. I believe he was visiting Israel, actually, and I also believe, it could really just be that was just where he got the work done. That was just on the list of things to do, and he happened to be visiting and doing it. So it literally could mean nothing, but it is just, see something like that. It's funny. So you can't hide these things anymore. Twitter made them known. You can check now. Perhaps people will stop calling me an agent of the Pope now. My account was not made in Rome. My account was made, I'm sure it tells you, in Washington State. The law was previously approved by Parliament after a 2024 referendum, and then the Slovenian people have now rejected it. I really am more and more on that side of things. Again, if coming from leftism, assisted dying was just one of those things where I was like, man, if we'll do it to dogs, why wouldn't we do it to people? Like, we'll help them pass. Why wouldn't we help people pass? But more and more I've seen how abused it is, how very easy it is to get just homeless or just have some mental health problems, or just can't pay their rent very easily. And they're like, well, maybe you should die. I can write you this death prescription for depression, and you could just die. And and whether you actually think that that's like the right thing to do as the person, prescribing it, or you're a psychopath, right? Both things could happen and still be the wrong outcome, right? It's too easy actually to then just let people die. They might be depressed and really want it, they think, but actually they're not in their right mind. I mean, there's so many instances where this has been abused. And so we've seen it in Canada as just a horror show, just a complete horror show. And then in the US, it's starting to become that way too. We just talked a few episodes ago about the girl in Colorado who was extremely anorexic, and her doctor prescribed crazy because she's anorexic. So she's already really deep into the self-abuse and self-harm, low self-esteem and whatnot. Surprised she didn't accept. Her father sued, like, how are you doing this to a really fragile person? I didn't even know we had it in Colorado until I shared that story with you guys. So I'm kind of proud of Slovenia. I think perhaps it's a better way to go, is towards preserving human life. And I also think it's disgusting to keep people just like stretched out on life support and like, oh, you're you clearly would have died if we weren't just pumping you full of oxygen and blood and like all this stuff and keeping you alive. That's maybe not the right way to go either. Maybe there's the middle ground, right? We're just like, hey, you know, as you die, just like let yourself die. You're like, as you take age out of your body, let it go. And also, let's not just kill people because we can, right? So maybe Slovenia is on to something here. Major insurers, including AIG and Great American, are asking U.S. regulators for permission to exclude AI-related liabilities. This is like, for example, we had that huge company that was over somewhere in, I want to say like Thailand or something, and they did some accounting or some auditing for Australia, and it was all done by AI. And all of it was, and it was millions of dollars, this contract, and AI did all of it. So they made millions of dollars doing this auditing, but all of it was AI done, so they didn't actually do anything. And then the Australia got the reports and went and looked, and like most of it was false. It was just full of errors. Like none of it was real. And so the insurers are saying, all right, we don't want to cover this. Like that's way too that's way too ridiculous. There's going to have to be forced to insure these types of mistakes. So I'm with them. I'm all about it. I don't like insurers, and I would not normally be on their side, I would think, but in this case, I'm on their side. Nobody should have to insure that. In Germany, more and more individuals are debanked for political reasons. Again, Germany is just like becoming this totalitarian horror fest. So you get debanked because you say or think the wrong thing. Or we're not in a free society anymore. Poor Germany. I would hate being a German. UK regulators have approved the first clinical trials of puberty blockers for children since a ban was imposed last year. The study will recruit approximately 300 children and is funded with £10.7 million from the NIHR. Disgusting. You banned it because it's horrible for children, and now you're just so much by calling it study. It's a study. We're just seeing what happens to children when we pump them full of hormones for their whole lives and tell them that they're the opposite sex and cut up their bodies. It's just a study. Psychopaths. Disgusting. Horrible. Pray for the children of the UK. A Fuji's member, Prost, is sentenced to 14 years in prison in a federal case. I had no idea that this was even going on. 14 years is quite a bit. Billions of dollars in foreign contributions to former President Barack Obama. Ooh, it's all coming on to this is a threat to Obama is what it really is. They don't care about Proz at all. They were just like, oh, let's send a message to this guy. Obama is such a dirty psychopath, so corrupt. So this sucks to be him. He probably was kind of asked to or set up to do it, and then he did. And he probably thought he was doing the right thing. And 14 years is a lot to deal with. I don't know that I'd do it. I might liberate myself from my body if that were what I was facing in the coming days. Then they designated their literal leading military president and entire government class as terrorists. So definitely. Oh, this is so creepy. There's this new thing, maybe you've seen it. It's the ad that everyone has most likely seen is that of a grandmother figure who is on a screen and she can talk to you. And then you find out that before she died, her 2 minutes, which doesn't even make sense, 3 minutes, and then for the rest of time, everybody could talk to this grandma. She died, but they're sitting there talking to her via this, AI generated whatever. And eventually it shows her as a holograph because now we're in the future where everybody has holographic. And it's sad because a lot of people are going to want to do it, just like a lot of people want designer babies, just like a lot of people want to, abort anything that isn't perfect. And just like a lot of people will do a lot of things that is deeply unnatural and avoids the reality of life. It makes it into a travesty. of life instead. And so this is that. There's you should not be able to talk to your ancestors directly. You should communicate with them within your cell, live in your DNA. Like, there they are with you all the time. They didn't go anywhere, right? Their soul and intelligence essence, their consciousness essence is somewhere else anyway. It's never coming back, right? If you encounter it, it will be in a very different way and form. So no point in hanging on, dude. But we just like reject everything, never want to think about death. We never ever want to let go of anything. We don't want to like grow. We don't want to live, basically. So encapsulated in our own terror. So get your shit together, liberate yourself from your terror, and keep living as a human being. Don't give in to this shit. So that's going on. This is a company called God, I don't even care. I don't even remember who people do it. Hopefully everyone else rejects it as the weirdness that it is. Study exposes how a large state-funded censorship network steers the online debate in Germany, endangering freedom of expression. This exact same study has been done in the US. We see the same. Musk ostensibly bought Twitter was to stop things from being so heavily controlled and manipulated. You could then make the argument that just went into a different direction of manipulation and control, sure, but like at least it showed people who weren't paying attention that things are that heavily manipulated and controlled. And so it's not surprising to see that that's also true in Germany, where they are the most cracked down on speech and thought. Quite easy for them. It's just an algorithm. That's all it takes. In Canada, PM Mark Carney says that AI data centers must be carbon neutral by paying carbon credits. So here's the stating carbon credits. What does paying money have to do with how much carbon you produce? Literally nothing. Is that money going to go into some sort of like removal of carbon from the world? No. Is it going to go into anything that has anything to do with carbon neutrality? No. It's just a way to get money from people who use energy. That's all. It doesn't stop global warming. It doesn't curb anything. It doesn't clean up the environment. It doesn't make it safer or healthier for you. It's just in money to do whatever else they are doing, which is often not in your best interest. Pretty ridiculous, but a lot of leftists are going to buy it. Nicki Minaj has spoken out about Christian genocide in Africa and instantly lost, apparently, thousands, if not millions, of followers. I was surprised that she spoke out in the first place. For whatever silly reason, it seems to be a right-wing issue, even though it's not. It's just like are you a good person or not, really? Like, who cares if they're Christians or not? They're being attacked for their religion, and they're peaceful people. They haven't committed any harm or crime, and then that we find to be not acceptable, and that we all agree is not okay. And so you should just be against it no matter who you are. But for some reason, it tends to follow party lines or, duality lines, and only sort of right-wing Republican libertarians really care about it, whereas the left wing just literally just ignores it. They just don't even acknowledge that it's happening because it's ever happened. So she tends to be more leftist, and so it was interesting that she spoke out about it. But it's crazy that she lost followers for it. Because again, it doesn't actually matter if you're an atheist, agnostic, it doesn't matter who you are. You should be able to say Christians shouldn't be murdered and slaughtered en masse because of their religion. Anyone should be able to say that. But she said that, and she lost all these followers, which means that all those followers specifically want Christians to be genocided. Yeah, that's some demonic shit. That's gross. I'm proud of her for saying it. I wonder what's happened since then, if she has backtracked on it because she wants more followers, or if she's harder into it because because she believes in it. That's usually how those types of things go. When you get the backlash like that, for alleged Holocaust denial, you would be a Holocaust denier no matter who you are or what you are, if you can think and if you look at actual data and facts. The end. 303 school children and 12 teachers were abducted by gunmen at St. Mary's Cafeteria. 303 people. That's just ongoing. Never stops. Doesn't slow down. Just keeps going. That's just the latest number. This is what I was talking about, the Somali community. The Minnesota Somali community has been caught funneling taxpayer dollars to the terrorist group Al-Shabaab overseas by falsely diagnosing children with autism, but the number of autism claims shot far above the actual world and national and local average into the hundreds of thousands, so that they could get millions of dollars in grants and funding and then just send it straight to Somalia. Somali citizens, naturalized citizens would start these autism support centers, and then so America's been being fleeced by a lot of people who came here under Biden. And before, it's not like it's just under Biden. It's any time we're letting a lot of different immigrants in, and a lot of times that's what they're here for, is to fleece what they can and send it home. So they don't love the United States. They're not here to make the United States a better place. They're here to steal from the United States. The Antifa terror cell that attacked, I think this was the Texas one. They all pled guilty and are now being charged with terrorist charges. July 4th attacks in Texas. So this was that Texas one. There's been a few, Portland, Texas, and a couple other areas where Antifa has actually come in and actually attacked, with weaponry and facility or both. And so here is one in which 5 defendants pled guilty, and now are being charged, and they'll be charged, right, because they're guilty to terror charges. We say FAFO, right? Fuck around and find out. There you go. Derek Chauvin's attorney has filed a new petition, says the prosecution can only run from the truth for so long. Derek Chauvin, of course, was the person who was told, which people had then said was murder, which actually was a totally legit way to detain a person as part of the training that he received from his office as a law enforcement agent. And so it was called for. It was actually acceptable that he was then held responsible for this. And the only reason he was because of politics, because the media and all the riots and all of that. And it wouldn't have been popular to not hold him accountable for that, even though it was totally not in any way illegal. And so he's been imprisoned for this since then for no reason. Whether you like him or don't, or like George Floyd or don't, or whatever it is, those are just the facts. The biggest pile of trash in the world. But that's not how we do justice. Right? We do justice by paying attention to the facts and what's legal and what's not our emotions. Scotland's new abortion proposals are up to live birth, which means up to 9 months, which means that in Scotland, if this proposed abortion law passes, you would be able to carry a baby to any point in time, including giving birth to it, and then kill it, which is also what they like in New York and some other really dark blue leftist areas, which is equivalent to being a Satanist, in my opinion. I have no idea the difference. If you want to kill and sacrifice, and that's where Scotland's apparently headed. Mamdani went to the White House, met with Trump, and said, I look forward to rooting anti-Semitism across the boroughs and protecting Jewish New Yorkers and every New Yorker who clearly anti-Jewish, anti-Israeli. But you could have called him on it even back then, because even back then most of his funders were Jewish. So you always knew he was headed here. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that either. If there's actual anti-Jewish hatred going on, by all means take care of it. Tends to be the false term anti-Semitic, that what we really mean is you're criticizing Israel or Jewish people, which is not actually hatred and is actually totally okay. But we'll see. We'll see what happens with that. The FAA has issued warnings to civilian airliners operating in Venezuelan airspace because they're about to be heating up things down there. So you better not be a civilian aircraft in case things break out in war. If you're in the way, you're going to get shot down. That's through February of 2026. So they gave themselves a time limit. The community has lost more than 1 million pounds. Last year, as a record, 1 in 8 British households refused to pay the license fee amid the bias storm. I love it. It's just like NPR here, where people are waking up and saying, like, hold up, this is public. Why does it only go one direction? If this is publicly funded, why do I only see leftist propaganda here? If this is publicly funded, shouldn't I be able to also see the other side? Shouldn't it be actually, if you're going to have something that's that biased, have another thing that's the opposite direction, make them balance out, right? And so they refused to pay. I think it's crazy they even have a forced television license fee, but that's the truth. And so they lost all that money. Good. I hope it gets to where it hurts. I hope that it either undoes it completely and they make their own actually public broadcast. The BBC is horrible. It's awful. It's just disgusting. The United States threatens to cut intelligence and weapons supply to press Ukraine into a peace deal. We've got that peace deal on the horizon potentially now. Blah, blah, blah. Blah, blah, blah. Japanese authorities have approved the restart of the world's biggest nuclear plant after its meltdown in 2011. That's Fukushima Daiichi, all those nuclear power plants. So stupid. France's chief of staff says we must be prepared to lose our children. A willingness to sacrifice children because of potential war. Your children first, buddy. Your children first. Your children, your grandchildren, your nephews, your nieces, your extended cousins. Like, your people first, and then maybe we'll talk. What a dick. They're always willing to sacrifice your children, of course. Of course they are. Farmed oysters and scallops in Japan are dying off prematurely in massive quantities. Up to 90% of the spoken of Fukushima Daiichi could be the continuing sort of fallout from that. Nuclear waste, maybe. That's always a potential. The other, of course, is the sun, the geomagnetic excursion. You know, radiation can kill all biological life, no matter where it's at. So could be that, could be something else. Who knows? We'll maybe find out. In the meantime, this has been your winning report. I hope you've had the happiest of Thanksgivings. And if it was a sack, giving yourself whatever it is you need in order to get some peace and some happiness, I hope you have some time for yourself. I hope you get to enjoy this coming weekend. I hope you get a break from whatever work you do. I hope everything is fantastic for you and yours wherever you are at. I'm grateful for all of you. I'm grateful for all the listeners, all the viewers. I'm grateful for when you share the show, when you comment on it, you bolster the algorithm, when you tell people about it. I am grateful if you go to the site and you get some of your Christmas or holiday shopping done via my offerings. Give people the 2026 tarot, get yourself one, use the WhiteFriday discount code, get yourself or anyone else a ticket to the Bright Solstice online retreat this December. Get your $22 off using WhiteSolstice as the coupon code. Get your Orgone at the shop at roguesoul.org. Get $22 off any piece by using that WhiteFriday discount code. All of that, and go become a supporter at Substack, rogueways.substack.com. All the links are below wherever you're watching or listening. Take advantage of those deals, and much love to you until next time. And until then, travel.
Glued to them screens, it's a plot to drop the IQ.